Corner.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. The president's about face. President Trump signing an executive order late today. He says ending the separation of children from their parents at the border, saying he did not like the sight or the feeling of families being separated, even though it began with his zero tolerance policy. The country and the world for days seeing children in cages. Tonight, after signing the order, the president now saying, I think the word compassion comes into it. And tonight, the boy separated from his family for 8 months, left here in the U.S. even after his father was deported. Tonight, the scene as he now leaves the U.S. and we're in Guatemala witnessing the new trauma. The tornado watch as we come on the air tonight, at least 5 reported twisters and the flash flood emergency unfolding right now. Roads submerged. Water rescues underway. The deadly police shooting, an unarmed teen sprinting from a car shot 3 times and killed. Authorities tonight are now looking at this video. The major new headline breaking involving President Trump's one-time attorney and longtime friend, Michael Cohen. Cohen now breaking with the president will have his new words. And the bridge inferno, the deadly collision, a tractor trailer smashing into vehicles and the workers trapped under the bridge.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us. And we begin tonight with the stunning reversal. Late today, President Trump signing an executive order that he says will keep families together and end the separation of children from their parents coming into this country illegally. It was just Friday when the president was asked, will he stop this? He said, we cannot do it through executive order. But that is exactly what he did today, the president saying he did not like the sight after those images were seen for days by the nation, by the world. Children in cages, the audio of the children crying after being separated, all a result of the president's zero tolerance policy. As we heard the president today saying as he signed the order, I think the word compassion comes to mind. Tonight, the new questions here. Did he need this executive order? Why didn't the president call his Justice Department days ago? ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leading us off again tonight.
In the Oval Office today, President Trump did exactly what he said he could not do. He ended his policy separating migrant families at the border with the stroke of a pen.
We're going to keep the families together. I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated. But we're keeping families together, and this will solve that problem.
It is a stunning reversal. Just days ago,
You can't do it through an executive order.
and Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen insisting.
Congress alone can fix it.
Last night, Nielsen was shouted down by protesters as she dined at a Mexican restaurant.
Shame! 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 If kids don't eat in peace, you don't eat in peace!
And the president himself coming face to face with the outrage as he walked the halls of Congress.
They're separating the children. Mr. President, don't you have kids?
Exactly 75 days after he began his zero tolerance crackdown, the crisis reaching fever pitch after those images of children in cages and the sounds of their cries. Today, news that babies are being held in facilities called tender age shelters. Veteran Republican Senator Orrin Hatch calling tender age shelters a chilling phrase we will not soon forget. He tweeted, the child separation policy should be halted now. The administration has struggled to explain its policy, Nielsen bristling when asked if the children were being used as pawns.
Are you intending for parents to be separated from their children? Are you intending to send a message?
I find that offensive.
Why?
No, because why would I ever create a policy that purposely does that?
Perhaps it's a deterrent.
No.
Hours later, she was contradicted by the Attorney General.
Is it a deterrent, sir?
Well,
are you considering this a deterrent?
Yes, hopefully people will get the message and come through the border at the port of entry and not break across the border unlawfully.
The flames fanned by the president's former campaign manager's reaction on Fox News
De una niña de 10 años.
to the Mexican government's allegation that a girl with Down syndrome was separated from her mother.
I read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
Pick anything
How
you
dare
want
you?
out, but the bottom.
Today, President Trump called it an impossible dilemma. He said his own wife and daughter were moved by the images. Sources tell us they both lobbied him to put an end to the policy, even as they now face widespread backlash, people calling them complicit.
If you're really, really pathetically weak, the country's going to be overrun with millions of people. And if you're strong, then you don't have any heart. That's a tough dilemma. Perhaps I'd rather be strong, but that's a tough dilemma.
Faced with mounting political pressure, this is how the president explained the reversal.
I think the word compassion comes into it, but it's still equally as tough, if not tougher.
And Cecilia Vega joined us live from the White House. Cecilia, President Trump says his zero-tolerance policy is still in effect tonight, but children and parents who enter the country illegally will now be detained together, according to his executive order, as their cases are reviewed. But that leads to new questions, among them, how long can the Trump administration detain entire families?
Well, for now, we know it's up to 20 days, David, but the White House is asking a judge to be able to go beyond that. So these could potentially be long-term stays for these families. This executive order does allow for new construction for facilities to house some of these families. This is far from over, David. President Trump said today that he is bracing for potential lawsuits.
Cecilia Vega leading us off. It was last night here we reported on a young boy separated from his father 8 months ago, left back here in the U.S. after his father was deported. Well, tonight, 8 months later, we are there as he says goodbye to his foster family here in the U.S. and then arrives home hours later in Guatemala. The trauma on his face all over again. ABC's Alex Perez tonight on The Journey.
It's 4 in the morning and 10-year-old Samuel is already at the airport after a late night of packing up his teddy bear and art supplies. He's about to board a flight from Michigan back home to his native Guatemala to reunite with his family he hasn't seen in 8 months. Samuel with his foster parents, who are still fostering other children, so we agreed not to show their faces. They and their own 3 children have been caring for Samuel since the boy's father illegally crossed the border with him and they were apprehended. Immigration officials immediately separating them. His father deported, already back in Guatemala.
His father was then taken away in what he described as handcuffs behind his back. And our boy was then detained for 24 hours in a detention facility. But when he came to us, he was extraordinarily fearful. He was afraid to eat. He was afraid to look. His clothes were soiled. He wouldn't use the bathroom.
His father deported to Guatemala, but the boy still here in the United States, separated from his parents, able to speak to his father only by phone.
He was overcome. He couldn't talk. He was crying so hard that he was almost to the point of being sick.
Since the separation, Samuel living here in their home, drawing, playing, becoming one of the family. And this morning, as Samuel said goodbye, tears and hugs from his new family in America as he boards his flight to family in Guatemala. Samuel boards the plane accompanied by an ICE agent. The big question tonight, with President Trump signing that executive order today, what will happen to the families now separated, whose parents have gone back to their country but their kids are still in America? And what about the detained parents who've been moved to different cities in the U.S. away from their children? Back in Guatemala, waiting in tears, his father, Anacleto Cortez. I ask him how he feels.
I may look like I'm okay, he says, but my heart has been in pain, hurting because of this.
About 8 hours later, Samuel lands in Guatemala City, and after an evaluation by doctors, he's brought in to reunite with his family. The tearful look in his eyes and confusion on his face, the room filled with government officials. Samuel overwhelmed, appearing shell-shocked, going back to a family he loves and having to leave a family he loves.
And Alex Perez joins us live tonight from Guatemala City. Alex, it was difficult to watch that reunion, really, as the pictures came into the newsroom late today. We were all watching. We know he was separated from his family, then 8 months here without them, then the tears leaving his foster family here, then the trauma again when he arrived home late today. You've been in touch with his foster family back here in the U.S. tonight. What are they telling you?
That's right, David. I just got off the phone with his foster mom, and she says she's still very concerned about all the trauma he's faced with all of this back and forth. But she says she's committed to maintaining a relationship with him and says they even plan to financially help with some of his basic needs. They've already helped Dad buy a bed for him. David?
Alex Perez tonight. Alex, thanks. And on the Texas border tonight, word of those tender age facilities now for the babies. Just hours before the executive order was signed, those words causing even more outrage. But tonight, even as the president signs that new order, we went to an event in Duluth where the president's supporters are gathering for a campaign-style event. One saying that the images do not bother him, that these children have been well taken care of. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez on that front tonight.
She's the little girl whose voice was heard around the nation. Six-year-old Alison Jimena Valencia Madrid, now seen here with her mother, who was arrested when they crossed the border illegally, fleeing gang violence. Mom and daughter separated, ProPublica first obtaining that audio tape, which it says was recorded after that separation. You can hear Alison begging authorities to let her call her aunt, that phone number memorized. We tried finding Alison ourselves. Hi there, my name is Gio Benitez with ABC News. Officials wouldn't say where she is, but she was able to make that call to her aunt, who told ProPublica that Alison was crying and begging me to go get her. She says, "I promise I'll behave, but please get me out of here. I'm all alone." This, as we learned of those so-called tender age shelters where some of the youngest children are kept, including babies. A visiting doctor saying she found traumatized children, one crying inconsolably. And this woman sends in deacons to pray with the girls in that shelter.
Every single child gets up and begins to pray to God in a loud voice. Please, God, send me back to my parents. I want to see my mommy. I want to see my daddy.
But many across the country supported the president's zero-tolerance policy.
Did those images of children bother you?
No, because they're well catered for. We're paying $700 a day per child. If a person goes to prison or jail, they're separated from their children.
And Gio Benitez joins us from the U.S.-Mexico border tonight. You've been talking to Americans around the country, Gio. I know our team in Duluth, too, tonight. And some of the president's supporters stand by the president and his decision to wait until today for that executive order.
That's right, David. Some of them said that we need to solve problems here at home first before helping people from other countries.
And now that he has signed the executive order, Gio, we know that children won't be separated from their parents, according to the president late today. But in the meantime, do we have any idea about the more than 2,000 children in this country already in detention centers and in shelters? When will they be reunited with their families?
And we don't know just yet, David, and that's because it's usually a very, very difficult process. And as you said, we're now talking about more than 2,300 children here.
Gio Benitez back with us tonight. Thank you, Gio. We're going to move on this evening to the severe storm threat at this hour. Several tornadoes reported in Iowa already. A rope tornado, as they call it, touching down in Weld County, Colorado. The flash flood emergency along the Texas coast today. Water rescues in Mercedes, Texas. There are new alerts tonight from Iowa all the way over to the East Coast. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee back with us live right alongside the George Washington Bridge tonight. Ginger, what's the latest?
Oh, impressive numbers, David, coming out of Texas, especially in southeast Texas. A place called Harlingen, which is a city just north of Brownsville, has seen more than 14 inches of rain with this system. That tropical wave still bringing flash flood warnings and watches almost all along the coast of the Gulf up to the Louisiana state line. And tornado warnings in place in that watch in eastern Iowa right now. It's happening. Law enforcement actually confirmed a tornado there just south and east of Cedar Rapids. Now, look at this map. Another 5 inches possible along the Gulf on top of what they've already had. David?
Ginger, we'll see you first thing in the morning on GMA. In the meantime, we turn tonight to the new headline involving Michael Cohen, for the first time distancing himself from President Trump. The president's former personal attorney and longtime friend today resigning from his post with the RNC. And in his resignation letter, he cites the Russia investigation. He also then takes direct aim at the president for the images the nation and the world has seen these last few days. Again tonight, ABC's Kira Phillips.
He was the gatekeeper and confidant to Donald Trump for more than a decade.
I'll do anything to protect Mr. Trump.
But tonight, for the first time, the president's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, is distancing himself from his old boss. ABC News has learned Cohen resigned his position on the Republican National Committee in an email.